Good afternoon, viewers. Welcome back to Easy Mathematics. Today, we want to continue from where we stopped last week, which is the angles and geometry and measurement that is based on the new curriculum. Today, we want to solve a question under the vertically opposite angles where we can apply the angles on a straight line. Then we look at the other type in angles. So here, let's say you have to find the value of A, B, and C. Last week we looked at vertically opposite angles, angles on a straight line, and angles at right angle. Now, when you are being given the diagram to find a missing value or a missing angle, what you have to do is that try and check if you can identify all the types that you know, being right angle, being angles on a straight line, and vertically opposite angles. Now, if you look at this diagram, you can see that if you want B is on a straight line with 135. So if B and 135 are on a straight line, then we can apply the idea that we know in angles on a straight line. What do we say angles on a straight line are? We said they are the angles that sum up to 180. So if B and 135 are on a straight line, then to solve for B, we can say B plus 135 is equal to 180 degrees. Then we solve for B per what we have. So B plus 135 is equal to 180 degrees. Solving for B, we take B here, give us B is equal to 180 degrees minus 135. Then we have B to be equal to what? 45 degrees. So B, that is here, is equal to what? 45 degrees. So using the angles on the straight line, we have been able to solve for B. Now we can also see that this angle, which is the B, is vertically opposite to this. So B is vertically opposite to this angle. And what do we say about vertically opposite angles? We said vertically opposite angles are equal or they are the same. So the value of B is the same value of C. So if B is 45 degrees, then C is also equal to what? 45 degrees. So we can say B is equal to C degrees because vertically opposite angles are equal. So we can say therefore C degrees is 45 degrees or C is 45 degrees. Now this is because vertically opposite angles are what? Are equal. So now we have the angle for B, we have the angle also for C. Now to solve for A, we can also take this as a straight line, or we can say this angle and this angle are also what? Vertically opposite. By adding this and equating to this will give us the value of what? Of A. Or we can take this as a straight line, solve for A, or take this one as a straight line, then we solve for A. We can also decide to take everything around this one, which is angles around a fixed point. Then we equate it to 360. So no matter how you take the angle, you'll be able to solve for the missing value. So here, if we take this as a straight line, we have A plus 40 degrees plus C giving us 180 degrees. Why are we saying 180? Because we can see that those angles are on a straight line. And angles on a straight line, they sum up towards 180. So we have C degrees. We solve the C to be 45. So A plus 40 degrees plus the 45 is 180 degrees. So putting this and this together will give you A is equal to 85. A plus 85 degrees is equal to 180 degrees. Then we exchange it by taking the by taking the 85 to this side, giving you 180 minus 85. Then this gives you A is equal to what? 95 degrees. So with questions based on the angles on a straight line, vertically opposite angles, we can apply them and we'll be able to solve for the unknown. Now let's look at the other one where it is about angles between lines and parallel lines. Now this one is under geometric construction also, but it is for basic 7. So we are going to apply what we were taught in basic 1. That is angles on a straight line, angles at right angle, and also the vertically opposite angles to solve for this one. We'll also apply it here. But when it comes to angles between points and angles at right angle, there are certain things we have to know, which are also types of angles. Now let's look at this. When we say angles between lines or parallel lines, we can use this idea only if these lines are parallels. They are parallel, sorry. Now what makes them parallel is that they never meet, because we know that lines are said to be parallel if they never would meet. And the line that cuts across a parallel line, which is this one, is known as transversal. The line that cuts across a parallel line is known as transversal. So now, we know that angles are formed when two lines meet. So if this is a parallel line, and an angle or a line cuts across it, then an angle is formed here, angle is formed, angle is formed. Then we have to calculate the angle for it using the other types of angles. Sorry? Good. Now with the other types of angle, we can get them from these angles between lines. Now look at the diagram carefully. Look at the position of the B. Look at the position of the B, this B. Now the angle here, we can say that just as the position of the B is the same position as the F. And we can also see that the way the A is positioned, looking at how the A is, the E is also having the same shape or the same size. Now looking at the D, we can see that the D and the G are also having the same size or shape. So what we say most of the time is that this angle B and this angle F, they are corresponding. So the first type of angle we can know under this one is corresponding angles. And corresponding angles are always equal. So on this diagram, we can see that B corresponds to F. B corresponds to F. Looking at the position of the angle, then we can also see that G also corresponds to D. So this angle and this angle, they correspond, and corresponding angles are equal. So we can say that with the corresponding angles, A is equal to E. So we say A is equal to E. And also, looking at the position of C, we can see that it is just the same as the H. So C is also equal to H. Then B also corresponds to F. So B is also equal to X. And D is also equal to G. D is also equal to G. And so we can say corresponding angles are equal. So if A is 20 degrees, then this 20 degrees also corresponds to the E, meaning the E is also 20 degrees because these two angles are corresponding. Then we have the second type, which is alternate angles. Now with the alternate angles, we take the angles to be in a form of Z, where the angle formed at the corner here is equal to the angle formed at the corner here, or at the vertex there. So we assume this to be a Z angle, or the same as Z angle. Now if you look at the diagram, we can form a Z shape from this side to this side and this side. So we have the Z shape here, which is also known as corresponding angles. So we said the angle formed at the vertex here, or the corner here, is the same angle formed at the corner there. So this angle, which is the C, this angle, it is alternate to this one. So we say alternate angles are equal because they form a shape of Z. So with the alternate angle, we can say C is also equal to F because they alternate. And with the help of the Z shape, you can determine an alternate angle. Also, we have another like this in this form, where you have this and this in a Z form. You have this and this in a Z form. So that one too, this angle, which is the D, this angle, which is the D, also alternates to this one. So we are saying that alternate angles are equal. So this angle, which is the D, is equal to this angle because we are able to form a Z shape with this. So we can say D is equal to E. And also, concentrating here, per what we did last week, we can get or see vertically opposite angle in a way where B is opposite to this one. And we said vertically opposite angles are equal. So B is the same as C and A is the same as D. So we have the third one as vertically opposite angles. Now, what did we say last week about vertically opposite angles? We said they are the angles that are at opposite sides. So if you look at this, you can see that this and this are at opposite sides. So when they are at opposite sides, then they are equal. So we can say A is equal to D and C is also equal to B, or B is also equal to C. Then when you come here too, with the same vertically opposite angles, you can see that F is opposite to this, and E is also opposite, or E and G are at opposite sides. So we can say F is equal to H, and E is also equal to G, because they are vertically opposite. Now we can also apply the angles on a straight line, where A and B happens to be on a straight line. So if you sum this and this, per what we did last week, you should get 180 degrees. If you sum this and this, because they are on a straight line, you are also summing up to 180 degrees. But if you take the whole angles, everything here, we assume that it is around a fixed point. So that is why we say angles around a fixed point is equivalent to 360. So per what we have been taught, we can apply all the types of angles when it comes to the angles between lines or parallel lines. Then the last one, which is co-interior angles. With the co-interior angles, they do not apply to any of this. For them, they are not equal. Now, when we say co-interior, which means they are inside. So, assuming we close this, let's say, assuming we close the shape here, you will see that the D and the F here happens to be interior angles. So, we say these two are co-interior. So with the co-interior, when you sum this and this, it gives you 180 degrees. So with the co-interior, we say they sum to 180 degrees. So what are the co-interiors? This and this, they are co-interiors. This and this, they are also co-interiors. So we can say D plus F gives you 180 degrees because this and this are co-interior angles. And also C and E are also co-interior. So E plus C is 180 degrees. So even without the co-interior, we can use this three to solve any question given when it comes to the angles between lines. Let's take one example for this one and apply all the types that we've talked about and see if we can get any answer for such. So let's look at the first one. The first example, the only one that we will talk about today. It says, find the value of the letters. Find the value of the letters. So per what we've done here, or per the discussion here, we are going to use the ideas that we've talked about here, the types of angles that we've talked about here, to answer this. So we are finding the letters X, Y, Z, A, B, C, and D. Now you have been given an angle of 125 degrees, and you are using only the 125 degrees to solve for all the letters. So now let's first look at this one. You can see that the 125 degrees and the X are on a straight line. So you can use the idea on angles on a straight line summing up to 180. Or we can say this angle 125 also corresponds to this because corresponding angles are equal. So if I want to solve for this side, I can say X plus 125 is equal to 180 degrees. Make X the subject. By covering the 125, you have X is equal to this. So X is equal to 180 degrees. 125 crosses giving you minus 125 degrees. You subtract, and that is going to give you X is equal to 65 degrees. Sorry, 55 degrees. So the value for X is 55. So X is 55 degrees. Now, if I have X, I know that the angle here corresponds to this angle. Or 125 is on a straight line with a Z. So this plus this is also giving me 180 degrees. Or I can say Z is equal to X because they are vertically opposite angles. So I can say Y is equal to X. So therefore, Y is equal to 55 degrees. Sorry, Z is equal to X because they are vertically opposite. So Z is equal to X. So therefore, Z is 55 degrees. Why? Because they are vertically opposite angles. Then with the 125 too, we can see that this and this, they are vertically opposite. So we can also say Y is equal to 125 degrees. Why? Then you explain your answer. Because vertically opposite angles are equal. So that is why this is also 125 degrees. So now we have this as 125, which is the Z. We have the Y as 125. So the value here, or the angle here, is 125 degrees. The angle here, which is the 55, or the X, is 55 degrees. So now that we know the angles here, we can determine the angles here by saying that this angle and this angle, they correspond. So A degrees, or A is equal to 125 degrees. Why? They will explain. Because corresponding angles are equal. So if 125 corresponds to this, then you can say that A also is vertically to C, or this angle is also corresponding to this angle, because this and this are the same per the explanation we did here. So we can say C is equal to 125 degrees. Then B, how will you get B? The angle here, which is the X, also corresponds to the B. So corresponding angles are equal. So if X is 55, then B is also equal to 55 degrees. Now the B and the value here, which is the D, the B and the D, they are vertically opposite. And vertically opposite angles are equal. So D is also equal to 55 degrees. So now you have B to be 55 degrees. So the angle here is 55 degrees. Per the explanation here, we said co-interior angle, they sum to 180 or sum up to 180. So if this and this are co-interior angles, their sum should give us 180 degrees, which is this plus this is 180 degrees. So whenever we are being given angles between lines or parallel lines, we should consider or take into consideration these four types of angles. That means they correspond, so they are equal. Alternate angle in the form of a Z, or we say Z angles, are also equal. So when you come here to, you have this as Z angle, this one, which is the angle here being equal. Then we have vertically opposite angles, which we did last week. Then finally, co-interior angles. Thank you for staying tuned. This is geometry and measurement, that is line and space for basic 7. For basic 8, sorry. Last week we looked at the same thing, line and shapes, that is geometry and construction for basic 7. When we meet, God willing, next time, we'll look at construction from the basis in basic 7. How to construct a line, how to construct a perpendicular bisector from a point, and also how to construct angles in basic 7. Thank you for staying tuned. Please subscribe and share whenever you get the chance to do so. The name is Christian. See you next time. Bye-bye.